Hey, this is Meridith Elliott, Powell. You know what time it is. It is 8 a.m. Eastern Saturday morning, our favorite time of the week. It is time for Sales Logic. I'm hanging out here with my partner, Mark Hunter. Mark, you are looking dapper today.
Hey, it is great to see you. And you have got power. You've got water. You're in Asheville, North Carolina, still a town, an area of the country under duress. But thank goodness you've got power and water back after 3 weeks.
Yeah, and big shout out to Elon Musk. I do not have internet. Well, I have internet right now because of Elon Musk. We are all up and running on our Starlinks here, and Elon Musk has given us a couple of free months of it until our internet is back up and running. So if this show's a little blippy today, I certainly apologize about it. I may blip in and out a little bit, but we are going to give it a run. Sound good, Mark?
Sounds good. Let's go.
Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
Meredith froze up there for just a bit. But hey, here's what we're going to be talking about in today's show. We're going to be talking about best strategies to open up a new market. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. Takes a few seconds to come back. Like I said, this show be a little blimpy today. But Mark, we love to start the show off with a question from the audience. We feature a lightning round. We recommend a book. What is on tap for today?
Well, on tap today, we're going to be talking about best strategies to open up a new market. And that was prompted by Carl in Bozeman, Montana. He sent us a question. He said, hey, I'm new in sales, having moved from engineering to the sales side of the company, and I'm excited about it. I've been given a brand new territory for our company, so much opportunity, it's almost overwhelming. Where do I start? What's the best use of my time? Hey, I threw it in the brain, the Sales Logic brain. All the mastermind members get to participate, use it 24/7. But the brain came back with a number of things. I'm just going to highlight just 4 of them. Said, hey, develop a strategy on identifying your key accounts, the ones that are going to bring you the best opportunity long-term. 2, it said, leverage existing contacts. There's undoubtedly contacts in the market. Reach out to them, develop a relationship with them. 3, use your CRM system from the get-go. Don't think you're going to catch up on it later. Get into it now. Anyway, whole host of things. The brain came back with great strategies, but Meredith, I'm sure you've got some.
I do. It's so interesting. I was just asked this question at a conference on Wednesday. Somebody, I did a keynote and a breakout, and somebody came up to me afterwards and said, I'm going to open up a new market for the company that I'm working with. What would be your best advice? And here was my best piece of advice. If I were going to open up a new market, where would I start? Is I would go in and figure out who in the market are the influencers. Who do I need to know that if I connected and built relationship and got advice from them, it would shortcut my ability to open the doors that I need to open. I'll just give you a quick example. It's not a new market for me, but I'm trying to figure out some ways that I could really help the business community of Asheville, North Carolina. I'm working on that. And the fastest path to that, to me, was to get in touch with the Chamber of Commerce and the head of economic development to decide who the players are, who I need to be connected with, how I can really make those things work. So really begin with where the influencers are.
That is so key. I did a similar thing, not because of a hurricane, but when I moved here to Dallas, I made a list of 100 people who I wanted to get to know. And on the top of the list, well, Mark Cuban, right? Yeah, everybody knows Mark Cuban and Ross Perot Jr. And I began working my way through the list. This is so key because, again, Carl, use influencers. Bryn Tillman is jumping in. Leverage LinkedIn to see what companies you also have a network with. This is key. This is why your CRM system is good, because undoubtedly you've got access to your company's database. There are going to be people in there. There are going to be relationships that people have. You've got to tap in. Tap into those resources that you already have established. And your goal is to develop your own personal relationship with those people.
Yeah, Bryn, you and I were on the exact same page. That's exactly where I was going next, is to go into LinkedIn. You're going to be surprised how many people you already know that have some connection to that area. And with that, I would spend the first 2 to 3 months asking for advice and not asking for business. And the reason is because we all know if you ask for advice, you get business. If you ask for business, you get advice. And you need to learn about the market. You need to be willing to slow down to speed up. You need to be willing to go in there. You need to understand the politics of the area, how the area works, what's important to the area, how you get connected, how you kind of fit in, what they value. And you got to go in there and really, really figure that out. I'll give you a great example. Years ago, a million years ago, when I first moved to North Carolina, I moved to Hendersonville, North Carolina. And I was used to working in the Northeast, and I moved south. I moved to a very small town in the South, and I was a single female, very much working in a man's world. Well, I just figured I could call men up, take them out to drink a beer, take them out to play golf. Those weren't the protocols of this area. And not many women worked in the area where I was. And I missed the cues, which probably cost me 6 to 8 months, possibly a year, of really hitting my sales goals, because I assumed where I moved was exactly like where I came from.
Now, what you were doing was a good strategy. It's just the tactics needed to be changed to make it work. And this is what's so key. I remember years ago when I used to lead a sales team, we had a territory that would be underdeveloped. And I would flip a salesperson around. I would put a new person into that old territory. And I remember my boss did it to me when I got going. And it's interesting, as the new kid on the block, you're allowed to ask a lot of questions. You're allowed to reach out to people. You're allowed to play the new kid on the block card. And there's a tremendous amount of conversation. So Carl, hit the ground running. Listen to what Meridith has been saying about reaching out to all those people and use it. Because again, this is a window of time that you're going to have right now to create. Now, here's something else. You may have been around for a long time. I've lived now here in Dallas for several years. I'm still doing that. So just because you develop the habit early on doesn't mean you ever give up with it. You know, Meridith, you've lived in Asheville now for a long time, but you are doubling down to help your community. See, we never lose sight of those relationships we can create.
No, and I tell you, sitting here 30 years later and not being that active in the community anymore, I'm very grateful for those past relationships I built because I can still call on them. Dave has given some great advice here. He said, get involved with your industry association, such as, you know, if you're in banking and credit unions, find out who the person for the state association and help out with their conference. Great advice. Great way to go in there to get networked and connected. Now, here's my other question. I was working with another client a couple of weeks ago, and they've put a young man into a brand new market. Well, it's a brand new market because they've never done business there. And have failed. Oh, am I cutting out?
It's okay. Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah. And both of those salespeople have failed in that market. So my other piece of advice, Carl, I don't know if anybody else in your company has ever sold in that market. If they've had people in there before, but if they have, like, go to them and find out. Go to the sales leaders. What's worked in this market? What hasn't worked in this market? And then some of the other territories, what have been some of the best practices you can take into that territory?
You know, that's so key. That's why you got to tap into the CRM system to see what else is going on. I remember one time years ago when I took over a new territory and I was dropped into this because it had been a screwed up territory. And I had to go on a little bit of an apology tour with a few existing customers. But you know what happened? It worked out absolutely fantastic because I was the new kid. Hey, I'm not sure what happened in the past, but tell me about what's going on. Tell me what. And it was amazing because I could go in just kind of as the naive person. I still am today. And it was amazing how they opened up and they gave me a tremendous amount of knowledge, information, insights. And I remember one in particular opened the door for me into a local trade association. And just picking up on what Dave was talking about. And that really panned out. Carl, I'm going to tell you, Jump into those trade associations. It may be nothing more than the Chamber of Commerce. There may be something else, but jump into it. Now, you may not stay involved in those long term because see they don't pan out, but initially it's going to help you create relationships and contacts.
Such incredible advice. You know, I think the thing that we're talking about here, Carl, is quite frankly, you need a strategy. You need to really sit down and create a plan and a strategy about how you are going to go about opening up that market, being successful in that market. And then you need to test that strategy on a quarterly basis to see if what you're doing is making progress. You know, most likely, Carl, this is a brand new territory, meaning that nobody from your company has sold in there before. So it doesn't mean that you're going to figure that out right off the bat. And what you're doing part of it will most likely will work. And you want to know what that is and continue to do it. The second is you want to let go of what isn't working. You want to focus on being productive and effective and not just go into the market and do what everybody else has always done.
Oh, such great advice there. Now, here's something, and this applies to anybody that's starting out in a territory. You may be a new salesperson. You want to put points on the board. You want to get results. You want to make your number. And Carl, you're going into a new market. Hopefully, your company has given you a low quota to achieve, but you know what? It's still going to be the activities. You got to do the activities, and you need to be extremely structured with your time. This is absolutely key. What do I mean by structure? What are the number of calls you're going to make every day? What are the number of meetings you're going to have? What are the number of things? And you've got to be absolutely disciplined in this. Why? Because otherwise you're going to get caught up in shiny objects. Now, here's the other thing. As you look at your territory, you're going to say, hey, wow, this is a big opportunity. I want to chase after it. Here's the deal. You're new, and it may take you forever to get that big opportunity landed. In the meantime, your company and your boss is getting, hey, come on, you're not delivering results. So, Carl, I'm going to challenge you. Look at your opportunities and say, what are some of the smaller deals that you might be able to close fairly quickly? And what are the larger ones? Now, you're going to have to decide how you allocate your time. But one of the things that you want to do is establish momentum. I tell people going into a new territory, yeah, chase the big deals, but get some smaller deals going right now. Why? Because it does two things. One, it demonstrates to your boss that you're making things happen. That allows you to keep your job. Two, it gives you momentum. It just has you feeling better. And then you start working your way up the food chain. So look at your territory, break out the opportunities, and have some of those smaller ones and the larger ones.
Yeah, I love that advice. In fact, I think whether you're opening up a new territory or not, you should build your prospect list that way. Give yourself a couple of easy wins. Easy wins are probably easy business to do, which is a nice balance. I love Natalie's advice here too. Ask what trends associations seeing, and offer insights into prospects, which is such a great lead into what I was going to say next, Natalie. We're on the same pages. You need to clearly define your value differentiator. You're going into a market where you're trying to take business from competitors, and you need to be able to answer the question, why would somebody do business with you? Why would they leave a comfortable situation that they're in and move over to you? Do not go into that territory believing that you're selling products and services. Go into that territory really saying, I'm bringing something different to the table.
That is so key. I remember I used to really kind of figure out, okay, who is not just the company I'm competing against, but who are the salespeople I'm competing against? And there'd be little nuances I could find. Okay, this salesperson's got a great relationship with this customer. Okay, I'm going to let that one go. But over here, I'm going to attack it. And you really begin to understand. Now, here's the key thing, though. Don't get so caught up in who your competition is that you freeze. That's not good. Remember, because like just what Meridith said, figure out your value differentiation, what sets you apart, and then run with it. But you do need to keep a little bit of a side eye open as to what else is going on out there. And the other thing to take a look at is the people you're selling to. Who are their customers? Who are they serving? Even if you're B2C, there's still somebody that they're serving, B2B especially. Understand, where is this going in the marketplace? Because if you can begin to understand the trends And what's happening, guess what? That's going to give you another leg up, because I have a feeling most territories, the existing salespeople that you're competing against, they're lazy. They're lazy. And if they're lazy, that means it's only you that can bring value and insight to your customers. Now, when you bring value and insight to your customers, they're going to start looking at you differently. Here's something to think about. What is the piece of knowledge? Because Carl, you're coming in from engineering. So you undoubtedly have some knowledge, you have some insights that you can share. Think about that. What can you share to help make that customer more knowledgeable? And what does that do? That elevates your position in the marketplace. Meredith, are you there?
I am. I came off video because I found that with Starlink on occasion, it helps if I come off video, but I'm still here. We've got some great comments coming in. Again, Bryn Tillman tells us that prospect by polls and interviews, consider a campaign that seamlessly transition prospects from engagement via LinkedIn polls to personalized one-on-one interviews. What a great strategy. Oh my God, Bryn, I'm going to try this. The goal is to gather insights, build meaningful connections, and create opportunities. Natalie says that your polls are always so helpful. I love comment from our friend here with B2B Fusion. We haven't seen you in a while. Glad to have you back. Adding to your great list, make sure you understand and are focused on your ICP. Everything else is noise. John, you are so correct. You know, this client that I was working with, he was asking me how they benchmark against other companies. And I said, I don't like benchmarking. I hate benchmarking, in fact, because benchmarking to me is the status quo. And most companies are just doing fine in the arena of sales. Very few are blowing it out of the water. And one of the ways you blow it out of the water is to be very clear on your ideal customer profile and sell from a place of power and have the courage to say no to those you don't want to do business with.
Hey, I want to run with that status quo, because you are right. Oh, man, I'll tell you what, when you open up a new territory, it can be easy to set your sights too low. And this is a big concern I always have. You've got to make sure that you continue to up your numbers. In other words, okay, you're coming in, you're new. You may be having a hard time establishing meetings initially. Okay, fine. So you set a low, but you've got to be constantly increasing that number. Because if you don't, you are suddenly going to find yourself probably just like your competitors, accepting the status quo. There's always a tremendous amount of new business anytime somebody new comes into a marketplace. Hey, you may be a salesperson who's coming into an existing territory. This also applies to you too, because again, there's always additional business to the person who comes in and brings the insights and is willing to hustle. This is why we've been talking about that you've got to go in and you've got to create your plan. Come back to this ICP, because I tell you what, stay focused. Know exactly who and what your ICP is, because it might be a little bit different than somebody else's territory. Work with your boss, work with your mentors, work with others that you know in the company, your other company resources, to make sure your ICP is clearly defined for your territory.
Such a great conversation. Mark, we are burning time here. Let's hop to the book.
Hey, the book, our good friend, Mike Weinberg.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike is a great guy. New Sales Simplified. If you have not read New Sales Simplified, buy the book and send the bill to Meridith. She will.
I will.
Yeah. Anyway. Hey, what are your thoughts on that book? What are your thoughts on it?
You know, the reason that I chose the book for this group is because if I were going into a new market and I really wanted to understand how to go about developing a sales strategy and fundamentally understanding how sales works today, I don't know anybody who's defined it better than Mike. And it's a very easy book to follow. It's got some unbelievable advice in it. And it is put together in a way that I don't think you read it and go, oh my God, that's rocket science. And that's kind of what I love about it, Mark. I mean, there is no magic bullet in sales, right? Like everybody's looking for this new answer, and there isn't a new answer. And what basically Mike does for you is lays out exactly what you need to do in a very simple format if you want to be effective at sales.
The key word in the book, simplify.
Yep.
That's exactly what it is. Hey, Bryn Tillman, I love her comment. There's always a Burger King near a McDonald's. You're right, because there's always going to be competition. But you know what? It doesn't prevent you from being the superstar out there. Hey, are you ready for the lightning round?
I am. I want to make one comment though about what Bryn says here. You know, Bryn is saying again, there's always a Burger King near a McDonald's. I don't even think that's as much about competition. It is about they understand the leverage of being near each other. Years ago, when I was a banker, we would call on Walmarts, and every time a Walmart went into an area, there were about 10 or 12 businesses that followed them around the country. And they would be strategically right next to a Walmart because they knew if people went into the Walmart, they would come into them. So when you think about going into a new territory, if there's a lot of competition there, it means there's a lot of business and a lot of opportunity. And think about collaborating rather than competing against. Lightning round, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay because it expands the market. It creates more awareness. And in so doing, it creates more need. Excellent comment, Mara. Thank you. Hey, lightning round. Top 10 ways to sell through the holidays.
Oh, number one, we are recording this. Mark, I've so lost track of what day it is. Is it the 19th?
It's the latter part of October.
Oh, yes. The latter part of October. Thank you. Anyway, number one, sit down and develop your strategy. Really make your list of who you're going to call on and what you're going to do for the last couple of months of the year.
Number two, develop a list of all of your current clients, old clients, past clients, people who have turned you down, because you are going to be reaching out to them that latter part of November and December, calling each of them, thanking them for the year, thanking them that you've had a good year. And you know what? They're going to be shocked, and you're going to wind up having a conversation with them, and you're going to wind up creating a deeper relationship and numerous opportunities going into the new year. Okay, we just lost Mara for number three. Number three on the list, very simply this: make sure you understand what days your company's open and what days your company is closed. Why? Because when can you process orders? When can you not process orders? When's going to be the last day that you are going to be able to submit paperwork to get a new customer in other words, credit terms and so forth? You got to understand those days before you head into the year. Mary, are you there?
I'm here now. Which number are we on now?
I just did 2 and 3. Go ahead and do number 4, whatever you want it to be.
All right. Since I didn't hear 2 and 3, I'll just jump in here. With number 4, use the holidays. Thanksgiving, as Mark said, is a great time to thank customers. The holiday season is a great way to go by with a gift. And getting ahead of the new year, I love to celebrate the new year as my ideas and New Year's resolutions to start off the year. So use the holidays.
If you sell a consumable item, in other words, items that you're constantly shipping to customers, et cetera, ask your customers now, hey, what's your schedule during the holidays? What's going to be days that you're going to be open? What days that you're going to be closed? And you know what? By asking them now, they probably haven't even thought of that. The people that you're dealing with, the company may know, oh, wow, you know what? I need to find out. You're doing them a favor and you're doing yourself a favor because you're not going to block the system at the end of the year.
Yeah. Number 6 is you need to figure out which holidays your prospects and clients celebrate. Do not assume everybody celebrates Thanksgiving. Do not assume everybody celebrates Christmas or Hanukkah or another holiday. You need to be very mindful of the holidays that are important to them. I work a lot in the Adventist community, and I never make a sales call on a Saturday because that's their Sabbath. So you need to be very knowledgeable of that.
Yeah. Number 8, mark on your calendar right now. What days are you going to be taking off? In other words, do you have a kid's performance you got to go to at school? Maybe there's a party, whatever. Set those in your calendar right now. The reason being, you plan around them. So in other words, you don't get caught that you get to this week and, wow, I got to get these calls made. And, oh, man, I got to be at my kid's school for this or that, whatever. Plan your time now. And we lost Mara there. Here's a key thing. As you set meetings up, remember, the end of the year is a perfect time to be calling people that you don't normally have a chance to get a hold of. I love calling VPs of sales and CEOs and so forth the last few weeks of the year, because many times I can get them and I can have a conversation with them, and I can even arrange a breakfast or a lunch. Another strategy there is, as you get down towards the end of the year, you want to make sure that you are setting meetings for those first 2 weeks of the new year. Don't allow them to sit there and say, well, why don't you call me back after the first of the year? That becomes the common norm in the month of December. You want to say, hey, you know what? Let's put on the calendar right now. And let's put on the calendar right now for one of those first couple of days in January. The reason we do that is very simply this. It's going to get meetings on your calendar because every other salesperson is not going to do that. And they're going to come back the first week of the year. And guess what? They're going to be sitting there saying, I got to be making calls because I don't have any meetings on my calendar. Guess what? You have got meetings on your calendar. That's an absolute way to fill your time right from the start of the year. Mayor's back with us. Jump in, Mayor.
I'll go ahead and end this show right here before my Starlink blinks one more time. So, Mark, it's been an incredible show. Always love having our audience here. Go ahead and close us down.
Sure. Hey, thanks for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. Something we've said has earned you a single dollar. Consider telling a friend about our show because it's how we grow when we help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
all of this uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I apologize this week for my blips and my issues. Hopefully, I think I'll have one more session I might have to do on Starlink. But after that, I'll be back on regular internet.
And we should add in Sales Logic Expert Exchange, the fourth Monday of each month. Be looking for the links in the show notes because we have got a set of people over the next 5 months lined up that is going to absolutely amaze you. Great conversation. The fourth Monday of each month. Look for the link in the show notes. And hey, check out Sales Logic Podcast. Check out, the mastermind. Go to saleslogicpodcast.com. You'll find all the information. Thanks so much. Great selling.